we should look at enterprise AI. It really does. When a CFO reallocates budget from existing projects to fund, say, a 15% increase,
90% faster reconciliation creation time in accounting, which is massive, right? They're measuring the physical reduction of time it takes to execute away from junior roles. I mean, think about the traditional pyramid structure of a finance or HR department. It's built on this massive wide base of junior analysts doing manual data compilation. And that entire foundational layer is basically evaporating. It is. The McKinsey discussion provided a really vivid look at what replaces that junior layer. They outline a corporate budgeting process that is now being run by a sequence of AI agents. Yeah, the agent architecture. You know, to me, this sounds less like traditional software and more like, well, a restaurant kitchen line. Oh, that's a good comparison because you don't have one chef cooking the entire meal from scratch. No, you don't. That is a perfect way to visualize it. Instead of a room full of entry-level analysts building a budget, you have an analyst agent that acts as the prep cook, chopping up the historical variance. Right. Exactly. Then it passes that data to a market research agent, the grill cook, who applies external pricing trends. Then it goes to an operations agent that factors in supply chain realities. Wow. And finally, a pressure testing agent plates the dish, challenging all the assumptions against competitor behavior. That is wild. And all of this sequencing happens before a human executive ever even looks at the first draft of the budget, which is incredible for efficiency, but it also introduces a massive trap. Bain explicitly warns about this in their report. They call it workflow debt. Workflow debt. Let's dig into that. This is perhaps the most important concept for an HR leader to grasp right now. Workflow debt is the trap of basically paving the cow path. Paving the cow path, right? It's when you leave an old, broken, highly manual workflow in place and you just layer AI right on top of it. Exactly. If your current process requires 7 redundant levels of approval for a routine expense, layering AI on top just pings those 7 people a lot faster. You haven't fixed the dysfunction at all. You've just automated it. You've just sped up the bad process. And this is where the practical application hits your talent acquisition strategy, right? Do not just execute across the board. Now, yeah. And we should probably define that. A black box model is one where data goes in, a decision comes out, and literally nobody, not even the developers, can fully explain how the machine arrived at that conclusion, which is terrifying for finance, right? If an algorithm makes a decision that impacts tax, capital allocation, or regulatory reporting, you cannot just shrug and tell the SEC, well, the computer said so. an entirely different training path than a financial planning and analysis leader. Okay, break that down for me. Well, the controller's training needs to focus heavily on validation frameworks, building So the sharp question for you to ask your HR leadership team is this: how are we designing human in the
legal, risk, and finance are all just sitting in their own separate towers, protecting their own budgets.
Signal 3 is the area where you need to rethink the HR function itself. HR must transition away from traditional siloed talent acquisition. You need to move toward cross-functional AI operating groups. Your immediate priority must be process-specific role redesign, defining exactly what an exception handler actually does long before you start altering the overall headcount. It really all comes down to discipline. The organizations that are capturing the most value from AI right now aren't necessarily the ones with the most expensive proprietary models. They're the ones combining value discipline, control discipline, and people discipline.